So let's say then you've got an author dealing with burnout, maybe they do or don't know. What would you say are the most unexpected signs of burnout that people don't always consider? And does it look different for writers compared to people in other creative industries? Like if you're, say, an accountant and experiencing burnout?
So it does, if you don't take your work home with you, it often does look differently. When you have to work from home, which most writers do have to work from home, I do think that anyone who works from home, burnout will look slightly different because you can't ever walk away from your job. Essentially, it follows you around in your home, and especially a lot of us are physically located, and so our physical location of our work, we'll often find ourselves avoiding that physical location. And that's usually a signal of like the trend down into burnout is when you just can't make yourself go around your desk that you have to write at or work at, or you just can't make yourself open the manuscript. And I don't think we take those warning signs as seriously as we should. Like I was having a conversation yesterday with someone and they were like, I can't even look at that part of my house without getting dread. And I was like, oh, that's a sign. Like we need to do something about that. And sometimes the sign of the what I call like pre-burnout, right, where we're on the road down into toward the pit. Sometimes those signs are so subtle that if we catch them early, we can really stave off the future burnout, but then we almost always have to fix something about the system. And that's usually what people won't do because that is often costly or painful. And so they usually won't fix those problems, which is fine because when burnout happens, we can deal with it, we'll recover from it. But there's almost always subtle signs that will help us just keep out of that place.
It's hard though, I think, because we are in that industry, or if it's just that kind of world we live in where people go, why aren't you doing more? Why am I not doing more? You should be constantly working. So sometimes you just think, well, I don't know about other people, but I suddenly think like, oh, why have I not done more of this? Why have I not finished this yet? And then as a result, you end up feeling
Yeah.
worse in the long run, don't you?
Right. And some of the why haven't I done more is partly because we have expectations that are unrealistic about how the industry itself works or how the market works. Like I always say, what people really want in terms of if the industry would act the way we all want it to act is that Captain America is in charge of the industry. Everyone who's good and everyone who works hard and everyone who applies themselves will get the results that they are looking for. And there is an equal sense of results to hard work, a ratio. That is what we would all like for it to be like. And unfortunately, Captain America is not in charge. Loki's in charge. I wish that Captain America would be in charge because then everything would make sense. It would seem fair, it would seem equal, everyone would get outcome that was based on the work that they put in. But chaos is in charge, and the market is capricious, and it is not predictable. And the people who tell us things like, well, if you would just work harder, embedded in that advice, the expectation that for everyone, hard work equals results. So when we have that expectation, almost always that's the expectation that's going to lead us into burnout, because believing that at the core of our being is what makes us work harder in order to get better results and or do more in order to get more results. And so if we believe that that is true, ultimately it's going to burn us out unless we happen to be in that 1 to 3% of people for whom that is true in this industry. And it's a very small percentage of people for whom that is true.
Chaos is in charge is such a good quote. I think I'm going to remember that when I feel like things are not going right. It's like, it's fine. It's not me. Chaos is in charge.
Need a poster saying
That's,
it.
yeah, it's
Yes.
so good.
Like, thanks, Loki. I say that all the time. I'm always like, thanks, Loki, because it feels like when I have a release, for instance, that I've worked really hard on and I've done everything I can possibly do, and it doesn't go the way that I anticipate, the more that I expect that it should have gone the way I anticipate, the more stress I'm under, the more the amount of energy that I have to put forward to get the same result out of myself changes, right? Like I have to put a higher and higher and higher level of energy into the work in order to get a lower result. And eventually that disconnect is going to burn me out. And that's why, like you had mentioned, seeing so many people who were in or were headed into or have experienced burnout, that's why. Because Loki's in charge and we all want Loki not to be in charge. So our expectations are based on someone else being in charge of the industry. And then the more we wish that to be true, the more we act as though that's true, the more likely we are to burn out.